guys, it's Rhonda. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me today. I am going to be tackling how I start a junk journal. So I have a lot of junk journals that I need to get set up so that I can start scrapbooking in them. So if you've seen my other flip through videos, you know that I use my junk journals as a scrapbook. And I am going to be working in this golden book and creating a scrapbook for the Magic Kingdom portion of my 2022 Disney trip. So I've decided, since this cute little golden book is Disney's 50th anniversary, this is going to be perfect for doing not only the Magic Kingdom, but documenting all of the 50th anniversary things as well. So I've created this with my little golden book junk journal. This is a 2.5-inch spine. Obviously, I have not created any of the signatures yet. That is what I need to do today. This fabric I bought off of Etsy. So cute. I thought it was obviously perfect to go with this junk journal. So I'm going to share with you guys how I get this whole process started and what I use and what how I kind of put my signatures together, because I've had some questions on that. So again, this is my little golden book junk journal. I've taken all the pages out. I've created the spine. These pages are just the book. So I'm going to incorporate those into my signatures as well. So let me go ahead and set this aside, and I'll share with you kind of where I'm at right now and what I'm going to be starting. So, okay, I printed some photos today. The first thing I do is print my photos so that I know how, kind of gives me a rough idea of how many pages I need to include in my signatures. So I printed these off at Walgreens. These are 46 photos, I believe. But if you'll notice, like, this is a collage photo, and there's 6 little pictures on this. This one has 2. I just used my Project Life app and kind of created a mishmash of photos. I don't really pay attention to what size I print them. I print them all at different sizes, and then I just make them work. I figure out how to fit them into my album. But I also reserve the right to let myself print these photos at a different size on my little Epson PictureMate if I feel like I can use it in a different size. So I don't say I'm only going to use this size, but for the most part, I try to use them how I printed them. Sometimes you just have these photos that you know will work at a different size, and so I just go ahead and reprint them and use them. But this is my 46. I know this is not all of them. I do have other ones that I can print at home, but the bulk of them I wanted to print at Walgreens because they had a coupon. So that is what I went and did today. So those are my photos. This kind of gives me a rough idea about how large I need to create my junk journal. Okay, so I'm going to set those aside. Now, let's talk about ephemera that I want to include in my signature. So right now I am just working on creating the base for my junk journal, which is the signature pages for my journal. This bag, this is an old Studio Calico bag, and it comes with me on every one of my trips. So I use this to collect all of my ephemera that I want to use in my junk journals. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This, again, I've only created one junk journal, and that is like my travel day and our resort and the resort hopping that we did. So this is all the other ephemera from the rest of our trip. So I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to pull out anything that's either Magic Kingdom related or 50th anniversary related, and I'm going to set that all aside and figure out how I want to incorporate that into my album. So you'll see I've got a whole mishmash of stuff here because I save everything. This is, okay, let me straighten this out. This is the wrapper from a Coke bottle, and I kept it because it has, I don't even think you can see that. I don't think you can tell. It's got the 50th anniversary logo on it. Do I think I'm going to use it? Probably not. But I saved it because who knows? I might. But let's see what we've got. Okay, so I'm gonna use this in this album because it has the 50th anniversary logo. This was the Joffrey's coffee that was in our resort room. So I'm going to use that. So I'm going to set that aside. This was, I don't know where this came from, but it's got the 50th anniversary logo on it as well with all of the parks. And I will probably incorporate that into a signature. So I'm going to move that there. I've got all this too. I think I have more 50th anniversary ephemera than I have photos. So don't know what that was. I've kept some of these receipts because they have the 50th anniversary logo on that. So I'll set that aside. And I can use a few of those. I'll just pull those out and throw those over there. This was in our resort room as well. It was a take-along guide to the magic. It's got the 50th anniversary. I can use some of this throughout my journal. I could even take these out and build those into signatures as well. So let me set that aside. This was a magnet that I bought. I kept the backing from it because it's got the 50th anniversary logo. Same thing with these pins. I've got all these pin backs. So I'll throw those over here. Again, another coffee bag because, you know, what if something happened to the other one and I needed more than one? I bought some of the wishables, a couple of the wishables that were the 50th anniversary, so that's the tag from that. My Joffrey's coffee sleeve has the 50th anniversary. There's my other wishable. That's Hollywood Studios. This is a popcorn bucket thing, little popcorn box container, but it has the 50th anniversary, so I think I might incorporate that in a signature. I know what that is. That's not Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios. This is all not Magic Kingdom. Epcot. That's from Epcot. There's a Magic Kingdom guide map. I can use these. I can create or build those into a signature. That was Epcot. This is the Vero Beach part of our trip. Oh, that was, I don't remember what was in here. I can use that. Vero Beach. This is all Vero Beach. Vero Beach, Vero Beach, Vero Beach. This is literature that Disney sent me before we arrived. So you can see it's got the Disney 50th anniversary. I can tear this apart and include that in a signature. This same thing with this. That's all 50th anniversary. This was sent to us before we arrived. This is all 50th anniversary. Tons of receipts. Tons of, okay, this is all luggage stuff. So I'm going to put that all aside. Okay, now the only other thing that I know I want to include in here are these. So when we were at Disney, we went to the Contemporary Resort and went to Steakhouse 71 for lunch. And when our, I think we got like onion rings or something. And when they arrived, they had this cute paper lining the basket. And I thought, oh, I need this paper. I need this paper. So we asked our waitress and she brought me these sheets that are so perfect. I was so excited to see them. I love it. It's got like vintage looking like Walt Disney World tickets on there. It's got the 50th anniversary logo, the castle, the Magic Kingdom, all of this. I love this. So I thought, oh, this would be so perfect to incorporate into signatures. So I think I might use 2 of them in the signatures, and then I might use this one to use like as a background or something on a piece of paper. So I've got those 3 sheets as well. So when I look at this, I have a lot of stuff that I can incorporate into my signatures. All right, let me put this aside. Get this out of the way because this is for my other junk journals. All right, so we've got this. I'm going to throw that on the floor and be done. Okay, so this is what I've got to work with. Let me grab these here. All right. I have all of these things to work with in addition to the paper that I'm going to use to create this scrapbook. I don't really worry so much about where the paper goes in the signature. I kind of have a rough idea when I start a journal of how I want the journal to look. Now, if you saw my other flip through of my other completed Disney junk journal, I started that junk journal using a piece of vellum, and I wanted the piece of vellum to be the starting or the main, what am I trying to say? Like the opening page to my junk journal. I have 2 large 4x6 photos on it that are kind of indicative of what is in that particular album. And I want to do the same thing in this junk journal and in the other junk journals that I have to use for this trip. So that is what I am going to do. I know I need to include a piece of vellum, and I know that needs to be the front page of one of my signatures. But other than that, I'm just going to create signatures, and however it falls, it falls. Sometimes when I'm doing an album chronologically, again, I kind of have an idea where I want things to be. So like, take, for example, the last junk journal that I did where I documented my travel first. So I knew that I wanted my travel day to be first in this junk journal. So I used a lot of pages in the first signature that were travel related and that I knew would work with my photos. And basically from there, it turns out how it turns out. I don't really stress about making sure that stuff is on the right paper or that kind of stuff. I just kind of wing it and see how it goes. So that is kind of what I'm going to do with this one. This is not going to be in chronological order, obviously, because it's just one park. But I do want to do like one part of the book for Magic Kingdom and one part of the book for the 50th anniversary. And I think I'm going to start with the 50th anniversary and then go into my photos from the Magic Kingdom. So that is where I'm going to start. So I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to pull out my stash of Disney papers and kind of figure out what I want to use in this book, and then try to figure out how many signatures I'm going to create. So again, since I don't have a lot of photos, I have a lot of photos, but I have a ton more ephemera. I think I'm going to do 3 signatures, and I'm just going to kind of play with the paper and get it to how I want it, and then we'll go from there. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to stop this video. I'm not going to show how I create the whole entire junk journal. Maybe once I get my papers together and kind of show you, I can share with you what my signatures are going to look like. I'll go ahead and sew them in. I'm not going to show all of that. If you want to see how to create a Little Golden Book junk journal, there are a ton of videos on YouTube. That's how I learned. Just search for Little Golden Book junk journal tutorials, and that will show you how to put them together. But again, I'm not going to waste your time by showing you all of that. We can get into actually creating the junk journal. So that is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to pull out my papers, kind of get them together in a signature, and then I'll come back and show you where I'm at. So I'll see you guys in a few. Okay, I've just gone ahead and pulled out all of the papers that I think I want to use for these signatures, and I thought I'd just share with you really quickly what I am going to be using. So one thing that I didn't realize I had done, but now that I see it, I do remember doing it. So I cut down a bunch of paper into 12 by 8 strips and folded them and put them in this bag so that I would have already pages just ready to sew in when I was ready to work on my other Disney albums. I've gone ahead and pulled out some of these from this stash, but I didn't realize that I had done this until after I'd already pulled some 12 by 12 sheets. So I'm going to use some of those, but not all of those. I do have 3 more Disney junk journals that I will need to do, so I can use these going forward. But, so let's see. So what I've got, I pulled these, just these 4, and I'm going to go ahead and possibly incorporate those. Again, I said I was making 3 signatures, so I pulled out, I don't know, there's like maybe 21 sheets. I've got quite a bit of paper, so I do need to narrow it down. So I'll do that when I'm cutting them and see what I actually want to use. But the other thing I do have is these strips. So if you're using a full 12 by 12 sheet of paper to create your junk journal pages, once you cut them, so you're going to cut the papers at a 12 by 8. And what this does is it creates a perfect 6 by 8 when you fold it. And then what you're left with is this little strip. So one thing that I love to do is take these little strips and fold them in half and sew those into my signatures as well. Only because I love having things of different sizes. I don't love having all 6 by 8 pages in my junk journals. So I like to vary the sizes of my papers. So this is a great way to use up those extra scraps as well. So I'll show you that when I go to build the signatures. But I just wanted to share with you what I think I'm going to be using. So those are the completed signatures. I've got some envelopes. I love to use envelopes in my junk journals. Again, when you fold them and you sew them into your signature, you've got a smaller surface here, plus you've got the pocket on the inside. All you need to do is cut this, and you've got a pocket here. You can tuck photos in there, you can tuck journaling in there, however you want to use that. And then same thing with these envelopes. I pulled out a couple of these, and those are going to get folded in half. And again, there's my varying sizes, and I can cut the edge of this off if I want to tuck things into it. And I've got this flap here that I can use to tuck things in as well. So I grabbed a few of those. I've also pulled out my piece of vellum. I'll show you how I'm going to use that in a minute. And then these are the papers that I thought I might use. So I have pretty much every Disney collection known to man. So these are from all different kinds. So this is like Say Cheese Fantasy at the Park. This is very Disneyland to me, but I'm going to go ahead and use it. I think I really love the pink side. I've got this. This is, what is that? Cartabella, Believe in Magic. This is an Echo Park. This is a Simple Stories, Say Cheese. Got another Simple Stories. This is Photo Play. Echo Park. This one I think is going to be like where I start to do the Magic Kingdom photos. I really love this and want to use that. So that's Simple Stories, Say Cheese at the Park. This is Echo Park. This is why it's good to know what your photos are going to be before you start creating your signatures. So I have an idea of what photos are going to go in this particular junk journal, and I could pull out papers that I know will work with those. So I've got some firework paper in here. So I know that when I go to do my firework photos, I'll have paper in here where I can use that to create that layout. There's the photo, or the fireworks. This one I thought was cool, Celebrate With Us. I thought that would be 50 Years of Thrills. I didn't even know I had this, so that's kind of cool. And there's that paper. So now what I'm going to do is take all of this paper and I'm going to cut it down, again, varying sizes, and build my signatures, and then I'm going to work in my ephemera. So I will come back and show you that as soon as I'm done. Okay, so I am back and I've got piles everywhere. So one thing that I did is I took a look at my junk journal, and what I want to do is basically tell two stories in this junk journal. So one thing that I like to do is figure out how I'm going to divide this book so that I can tell two stories. So because I'm going to have 3 signatures, I figured the easiest way to do it would be to say I am going to use roughly 1.5 signatures to tell the story of the 50th anniversary and 1.5 signatures to tell the story of our Magic Kingdom time. So roughly that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. So 1.5 signatures for each story. So I've got piles here. So these are the things that I'm going to incorporate into my signatures. So I've got my envelope, and I've got these smaller. These are, what would they be, 4 by 12? I think 4 by 12. So they're actually 8 by 12s that I folded in half. They're 4 by 8s now. 4 by 6. So I've got these 4 by 6s here. Sometimes I leave the branding strips on. Sometimes I cut them off. It just depends. I kind of like that pop of red there. And then this one over here, I like the pop of red on that one. So sometimes I leave them on. Sometimes I leave it off. It doesn't hurt either way. And then I've got the other envelope here. So this is 1 pile, 2 pile, and then this is my 3rd pile of just my envelope and my smaller papers. And then this pile I've got here is all of my 6 by 8s. So this is the papers that I am going to work into my signature. So the next thing I'm going to have to do is plan out my 3 signatures. Again, focusing on the first half of my signatures being papers that I want to use for the 50th anniversary, and then the second half being papers that I want to use for the Magic Kingdom. So we'll go through that in just a second. And also I can, at this point, take these papers and trim them down so they're not all 6x8s. Again, just to have that varying height. Okay, so that's ready to go. Now the last thing I did is I took a good look at my ephemera pile and figured out what exactly it was that I wanted to sew into my signatures and what I felt like could wait until I was actually creating my album and incorporate those into my book without being actually sewn into my signatures. So what I decided was I was going to use just one of these. So these are the papers that came from Steakhouse 71. So I'm just going to use one of these, and actually they're folded. They're a perfect 6x8 size, so they worked out really perfectly. So I'm just going to use one of those. Again, it's going to go in the first 1.5 signatures because it's a 50th anniversary. I've also used this wrapper, again, because when I folded it, it was a perfect 6x8 size, and I'm going to use that again in the first 1.5 signatures. And then I decided to go ahead and use this envelope. So this is one of the literature that Disney sent before we even went on our trip. And the nice thing was that it had this sticker in here, like this. So what I think I'm going to do is cut this. Let me do that right now. I'm just going to cut. Actually, you know what? It's going to be easier to do this. I'm just going to use my paper trimmer and trim off the very top of this so that it is going to be a perfect 6x8 size. And then let's see how that works. So then it's going to open like this. And then I think I'm just going to tape this on the inside of this. And then I've got 2 surfaces here that I can work on in my journal. So I'm going to sew this in, again, first 1.5 pages. And I think, is it going to be a little bit too big? It is, but I can trim it down a little bit on both sides. Let's do that. We'll just trim this. And again, it doesn't really matter if it's a full 6x8 because again, I like those varying sizes. So it's going to be just a little bit shorter and that's going to be perfect. Okay. So that is done. The other thing I did, like I mentioned, I want my first page of the book to be my vellum page, but I don't want an entire extra sheet of vellum tucked somewhere in and with the signature. I don't want to deal with another vellum. So what I did was I cut this at 7.5 by 8. And then I just took this extra 1.5 inches and folded it over. So this will get sewn into my signature, but I don't have a whole other sheet of vellum somewhere else in the signature because I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is sew this into my signature. And then when I get to this page, I'm just going to adhere a different sheet of paper on top of it. So this will just kind of work like a hinge, and then a different sheet of paper on the back of it, and it will be perfect. Love to do that trick. So that is done and ready to go. Now the last thing I've got is this guidebook. And when I looked through it, there's a lot of things that I can use throughout here. But what I think I really want and what I really want to incorporate into my signature is the cover. So I love the cover, but I don't love the backside. So I'm going to do the same trick with this that I did with that vellum. So I want to use the cover. I like the inside of both sides of this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull out the book and I'm just going to use that. I can cut out things. I can use them as flips. I can use them as pockets, however I want to do that. But I'm going to pull this out here and then I'm going to trim just a little bit off of here. So this is going to get sewn into my signature, but I'm going to be able to have that flap, just like we did with the vellum. I'm going to be able to have that flap here that I can adhere a different sheet of paper to when I get to it. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to need my bigger paper cutter. Hang on one second. Okay, so all I've really done is just cut off this Disney Plus ad and this ad for Disney Springs. So I don't need those. I'm going to go ahead and throw those away. But now I can incorporate this into my signature and then use this as a hinge again. All right, but one thing I know I need to do, this page is too big. So I need to cut off. Let's see if we can finagle this a little bit. Maybe I'll just cut this whole thing off. How does that work? And then I just need a little bit more at the top. Okay, so that should work. Yeah, that should work as well. Okay, so I do want to keep this though. This is the part that I just cut off. I do want to keep that because I can use that throughout my journal as well. Okay, so that is what I am incorporating in all my signatures. So I'm going to work on getting these signatures together, and then I will come back and share with you what I've come up with. Okay, all of my 3 signatures are created. I've trimmed down the papers so nothing is overhanging. Everything is all tucked in there perfectly. I've gone through and I've made sure that everything is staggered the way I want it to be. I've also included my book pages, which I almost forgot to do. Yeah, that would not have been good, but I realized those at the last minute, and so I did put my book pages in here as well. So there's roughly... there's a lot. There's roughly 12 sheets of paper, so that's 24 pages per signature, which is a lot. It's more than I wanted, so it's going to be interesting to see if I can make this work by, taking up enough room when I create it to use all the pages, but it is what it is. So this is my vellum. That's going to be the first sheet in this junk journal. Again, just a little flap here on the back. I don't have a full sheet of vellum there. This is my middle signature. So like I said before, roughly 1.5 signatures for each story that I want to tell. So I was able to incorporate the castle page right there. So that's roughly at about 1.5 signatures. And I'm not too worried about it. If it doesn't work out that I have to use more than 1.5 to tell the 50th anniversary story. Again, it is what it is. It's all the Magic Kingdom. It's all the 50th anniversary. I'm not too worried about it, but that's what I'm shooting for, roughly 1.5 signatures. So then this is my last signature, and I'll share a full flip through once I get this done. But my book pages are in there. I wanted to put my firework page right in the middle because I knew that, again, this is going to be the second half, so this should be all Magic Kingdom. So I've got the firework paper in here. Let me double check that just to make sure. Yeah, right there in the center. So I've got a double page. I can do a full layout with my firework pictures because I've tucked this in the center of the signature. So I've got everything, like I said, I've got everything all trimmed, everything all ready to be sewn in. So that is going to be the next thing I do. So I'm going to go ahead and sew in these signatures, and I will come back and show you what this junk journal looks like when the signatures are sewn in. Sewn in, sewn in. See you in a minute. Okay, so it is complete. All 3 signatures are sewn in. And now my poor fingers are wishing I would have done 4 signatures with less pages rather than the 3 with a lot of pages. It was tough. It was tough to push the needle through all of those papers, but it's done. And then my first signature did shift a little bit, and completely my fault because I took the binder clips off just a little bit early, and then when I went to sew it, everything shifted down just a touch. So you can see it's just... But that's fine. It's fine. It is what it is, and it's going to work just fine. So this is what they look like completed. So here's my vellum page. That's going to be my title. I've got that ephemera that I built in here. There's my book pages. Some scrapbook paper. The smaller pieces of paper are built in here. Again, more ephemera that's in there. I love how this looks. More castle scrapbooking paper. I had to really watch when I put my colors together because I realized as I was building these signatures that I had an awful lot of red. So I really had to work to break up the red papers, but I think it turned out pretty cute. So I've staggered where the it's kind of like about a third of a sheet of paper went my smaller sheets. So they're not all in the same place. I've got my book pages in here. There's my envelopes. This is the little flap that I'm going to use. I'm going to add some paper to this on both sides to cover that up. More of the book pages. There's the other half of that paper, and then there's the other little strip of my vellum. I'm going to do the same thing. Going to just adhere paper to both sides of that. This is the second signature. The book page, there's that newsprint, the Celebrate With Us. Because again, the first 1.5 signatures hopefully will be just the 50th anniversary. So there's that envelope that I put in here. I'm going to add the sticker there. Got some castle paper, more envelope. There's that castle page right there. Hopefully that will be the start of my Magic Kingdom photos. I do think that I have made too many pages for this album. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And I can kind of share with you what I do when that happens, because it happens quite a bit. I get overzealous with creating the junk journal, and then I end up not having enough photos to fill all of the pages. All right, my third, another envelope, more book pages. Put some yellow in here to break up some of that red. Smaller page. The fireworks right in the middle of the signature. Yeah, there's a lot of paper in here. Coming to the end, people, coming to the end. Okay, there it is. So that is what I will be doing next. I'm going to be scrapbooking in my junk journal. So make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. Make sure that you're following along so that you can see how I actually scrapbook in here. So I'll be doing some journal with me's. You'll see how I put in the photos, how I build in the ephemera, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully I will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining me today on this how to build a junk journal video. And I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.